Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We will be talking about emotional trauma, and this is the second part. Mainly, the ideas are taken from Gabor Mate's workshops on emotional trauma. And this, in the second part, we are going to cover forsaken. Forsaken means left alone. Now, here is a graphical representation of a boy who has been left alone. There are bullies all around him. That is, there is a hostile environment, and the boy is on his own trying to fight all the forces of evil that have surrounded him. So this is a drawing made by my grandson, Hussein, who is just 10 years old. So it's an excellent effort. So last time we discussed the scar tissue. That is the person or the child who has suffered abuse and who has been neglected by his parents and who has been denied his basic emotional needs of self respect, self esteem. He does not grow, he gets emotionally blocked. So, here we'll talk a little more about what happens in trauma. There are two things that that are there in trauma. Um, Trauma occurs in two ways: things that should not have been done, that is, the child should not have been too much criticized, because there should be a balance between reward and punishment. But if you keep on punishing the child by constantly criticizing him, you deprive him of his self-respect. So this is one thing. And the second is good things that should not have been withheld. He should have been given love. He should have been given protection. When he was in pain, he should have been embraced. He should have been helped. So, in a nutshell, when a trauma is there, then basic emotional needs have not been met or are not being met. So the result is growth is blocked. A part of you that is scarred does not grow. Needs not being met. So emotional needs are there, like we go to the Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs, and there we find that we have basically the physiological needs, then the security needs, then the emotional needs, then there is the next higher step of actualization of self-realization and then self-actualization. But emotional needs are very important, because if they are not met, if self esteem is not there, if confidence is not there, if the person is guilt ridden, and if he has developed emotional scars, then it becomes difficult for self actualization to take place. So the impacts of trauma are long lasting. If a wounded part is touched, trigger mechanism starts. That is, if you insult the child and he has suffered trauma because of the insults, then you see his trigger mechanism is ignited, or it is initiated, or it becomes operational, and the response flexibility is affected. Now, according to Gabor Mate and the research which has been carried out, the midfrontal part of the brain governs response flexibility. But our animal instincts, which show reactiveness, they are somewhere in the back side of our brain. So, the person whose emotional needs have not been met, who has been traumatized as a child, his midfrontal part of the brain loses its response flexibility, and then he goes back to the primal form of reactiveness. That is, there is a tremendous shift in his consciousness. Instead of handling things in a mature way, he has resorted to anger and rage. So, in order to cure this emotional scar which lies on the forehead, one must regularly gently massage the forehead, preferably with oil. And then, secondly, one should place one's forehead on the prayer mat in the state of sajda. It has two benefits. It improves the breathing processes, and also that emotional scar which is there on the forehead, that is also healed in the process. So trauma disconnects us from ourselves. We form a very low opinion of ourselves. We are not connected with the original self. So low self-esteem is there. It gives a distorted view of the world. It gives the feeling of disconnect. You are disconnected from your parents, your near ones, your dear ones who denied you your basic emotional needs in a way. And if this is not handled properly and well in time, this gaping wound, this emotional wound, which has developed a scar, it becomes a generational trauma and is passed on to the next generation. So, this is about all. Thank you very much. God bless you.